Lovely to see everybody for our CDEM joint committee. Nā mai, haere mai, hoki mai, piki mai, kaki mai. Please join in our Hawke's Bay Regional Council Karakia. It's a beautiful way to open. Talks about peace being widespread, the seas being like greenstone, a pathway for us all this day to give love, receive love, and show respect for one another, and to bring us all together. Please join me in the Māori if you would like to. Me karakia tātou. Kia hora te marino, kia whakapapa pounamu te moana. Hei huirahi mā tātou i te rangi nei. Aroha atu, aroha mai. Tātou, ia tātou katoa. Tuie, tākie. Kia ora, thank you. Welcome to mayors and chief executives, welcome to our staff, and welcome to anyone watching online live or later. The meeting is being live streamed, so you can watch it at any stage. If there's an earthquake, please drop cover and hold. If the shaking's long or strong, please leave the building through the nearest exit. Head up the hill this way, please. If the emergency alarm sounds, please evacuate immediately through any of the exits and out to the grass area this way. The toilets are down our hallway here and to the right. Are there any apologies? Have you received any apologies?
No.
No? Are there any other apologies to receive? No? Oh, kia ora, Peri. Didn't see you online. Welcome.
Just one from Baden.
We have an apology from Baden Barber. No others? Oh. Mover for those apologies. Thank you. Mayor Sholem. Mayor Richard, thank you. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
That's carried. Thank you. Are there any conflicts of interest declarations to be made in the papers? No, there are none. Thank you. If we could confirm the minutes from our last meeting, 23rd of March 2026, or if there are any amendments or questions from those.
Happy to
Confirm, thank you. Do you have a seconder? I'm happy to second those from the chair. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Thank you. That's carried. If the members are happy, I would like to change the agenda a little bit and move item 4.6, which is the NEMA update, up to the beginning of the agenda. All right with everybody? Thank you. Have we still not got the...
It should hopefully work.
It should work now. So if that's all right with everybody, I'm saying welcome to Steph Mitchie. He's the Deputy CEO of Assurance at NEMA. He's joining us today and he has a presentation to share with us, which we are hoping will share on the screen. How's it looking, Steph?
It's not hopeful. It says only meeting organisers and presenters can share. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's okay. I'm always ready to proceed without PowerPoint. No worries at all.
Yeah. Well, what we can do, if you could email it and then perhaps begin your presentation, we'll see if we can share it from this end. Yep.
Sure. Shane has it already, I'm sure.
Shane's got it. Can you share it, Shane?
I can't share it either because I'm a difficult
with my key.
Okay. Is it the same one as here? Because I can share it.
It is the same.
Yes, it's the two key.
It's the same one as Keg? Yes. You have it?
Okay, just give me a minute. Bring it up. Where are you?
Oh, you were going to start with Keg. Let's just see if Bex can bring it up.
NEMA Assurance Update.
Yes. Try. Okay. I think we're going to get there, Steph. What we might do is just go back and let Nick open with the KEG update, just while they're sharing it, because they've found it now, and then we'll come back to you in about five minutes or so. Is that all right? Is that going to work for you timing-wise?
Absolutely. Okay,
thank you. All right, I'm going to pass. Are we going to go back to item 4.1, please, the KEG group update? Oh, no, we're not. Success. Okay. Thank you. No, we're back to you, Steph. And Peri, can you see the presentation? Great. You don't need to. No, that's fine. Thank you. Okay, Steph, we're passing back to you. It's up on screen.
Okay, so I'll just prompt someone to advance the slides as required.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, kia ora koutou. To everyone I haven't met, I'm Steph Mitchie from NIMA, DC Assurance. I've only been in the job about 15 months, so it's every day still has its fair share of surprises, but I hope I won't pass any of those on to you. I will just take a few of your minutes to update you on where we're at with the assurance program, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. Before that, I can cover off very high level a couple of the big things that are happening across the sector for NIMA, and of course can take questions about any of those topics at any time, so please feel free to jump in. Of course, I can't see anyone, so you need to use verbal cues. So look, very quickly for NIMA right now, there's a number of major programs happening. The implementation of the new emergency management bill, which we expect to find out about the second reading anytime soon. No real dates on that yet, or no hard dates, but we are quietly confident that it will have royal assent sometime in July or August, so that's not too far away. Of course, the other, for anyone who was watching the budget or announcements just beforehand, may have seen the announcement regarding the emergency management sector operating system. No numbers attached to that for procurement reasons, of course, but it's a great announcement which should help strengthen the wider system. And there's a team doing a lot of engagement right now. I'm not sure if they've come through Hawke's Bay yet, but I'm sure that'll be of real interest to everyone in the operational space in particular. Reviews and inquiries are still happening at pace, and we, of course, as an interested party in a number, have been assisting with the Tauranga landslide inquiry and still working on the COVID Royal Commission. The recommendations coming out of that. The other aspects, maybe not as quite significant, but the national plan, that needs to be rewritten. And so that's there's a lot of work going into that right now. And then there's some exercise planning going on for later in the month. And I'm sure Shane, if anyone's interested, will be able to tell you a little bit about exercise pack wave in October. The last thing we're working on is a self-assessment tool for assurance, which brings me to this presentation. As I said, I've been in the job about 15 months, and so my job is to get this program up and running again. Next slide, please. The previous context, and I'll just move very quickly in a very fast history lesson, based on the previous Act. You can hopefully see there on the slide outlining the number of performance indicators and measures that were used to describe capability. And as you can see by the number there, it was a fairly monumental program. It only resulted in a national report twice, in 2012 and 2015. And we've been reviewing those in some detail over the last few weeks. Very clear from everyone involved that the results were useful, but the process perhaps not so much, in that it was rather onerous given its scale and the time and effort required to complete it. So, of course, that has driven a lot of our thinking. How do we get the goodness without so much of the pain to get there? Next slide, please, the one entitled Current Context. So for us, the context has changed significantly. The previous CDEM Act 2002, or should say the current CDEM Act, although it contained a number of assurance requirements, the posture that then McDem had or adopted in relation to the CDEM groups was very much one of emphasising local democracy and local leadership. And so there was not a strong central standard setting function, and nor was there much in the way of assurance. It took some time though, and by 2009 they had built an assessment capability. That process, though, or rather that posture, led to a situation where we had a recurring series of events that may have not gone so well, which led to a major inquiry, which led to further recommendations, which then sometimes were perhaps not funded or realised, operationalised to the fullest extent. So the TAG review in 2018 led to the formation of NIMA in 2019, and one of the key roles for the purposes of this presentation was the provision of assurance to the government and the public about the performance and capability of the system. And so that really indicates that NIMA has a role in not just understanding the current state of capability, but reporting on it publicly to provide that assurance, rather than leaving to hope or an assumption that everything will go well, and then finding out perhaps during a response that it might not have gone so well. And the inevitable questions that come from that around how could we have avoided that, or how could we have done better? So for us, things are changing, and we need to take a more proactive position. Next slide, please, number 4. So here we are, the purpose of assurance. I won't read all those to you. I'm not a fan of PowerPoint karaoke. What I would point out, though, is what is not there. And what is not there is to vilify, to criticise, to rank and order CDEM groups, to provide pass-fail marks, to give ammunition to anyone. You'll see all those things are not on that slide. And this really is about continuous improvement, promoting consistency and sharing good practice. That is what we are focused on as an outcome. The idea of a league table, which you could argue was present in some of the previous national reports, has no appeal to anyone that I've spoken to. And boiling every CDEM group's performance and capability down to a single number, which was the previous practice, equally has little value in terms of making a tangible or having a tangible understanding of the level of capability and doing anything about it. Shifting the dial from a 72 to a 75 seems like a mathematical event, rather than we need to do more exercising, or we need to improve the speed of our warnings, those sorts of things that actually make a difference for the community. Okay, next slide, please, number 5. The compulsory complex slide from Wellington. All I'll point out there around that is around the tiers of assurance, in that every organisation, of course, needs to do its own assurance, that tier 1. Where we hope to go, and where we intend to go eventually, is to move into performing that role of a tier 3 external assurance for a CDEM group. So that is something that NIMA needs to move towards over time. Right now, that's not actually happening, but we want to be able to do that. The only other aspect that I would point out for the members of the Joint Committee, I think we can extract from this slide, up in the strategic line there, you've got those 3 elements taken from the National Disaster Resilience Strategy: managing risks, effective response and recovery, and community resilience. Taken together with the 5 elements of capability below, and that's from left to right: people, plans and procedures, governance, etc. Those are the areas we want to look at. Can we just go to the next slide? Number 6. Okay, and taken together, those 8 areas are described as the 8 domains, and those are the areas that we want to look at, and that we are building into the self-assessment tool that is being built, or a prototype is being built right now. Now, as I've said, it's called a self-assessment tool, and that is the way we envisage it to be starting. So it will be a tool that we hope will prompt critical self-reflection among all CDEM groups to look at their capability across a consistent set of indicators so that we all know we're working in the same direction. And not only does that help with common language, helps common understanding, but it also means that we have quite a fluid workforce across emergency management, and people moving between different groups shouldn't be a large loss in capability. We hope that we can all reinforce each other. So those are the areas we're going to look at, and we will be building out the measures inside, or the indicators inside those 8 domains as we progress over the next couple of months. And we've asked anyone who's willing to help us build those, and that's what we're going to be doing shortly. Now, that of course, the plan is that tool, that self-assessment tool, is provided for all CDEM groups and is not, of course, provided at any cost. That's something that we have to develop as part of our role. All right, next slide, please. Last one, number 7.
I might just go back one, Steph. Were there any questions on that side? There's quite a lot of information there. Can you go back one, maybe, Bex? That one, and particularly on governance, or we're comfortable with that?
I want to digest it.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, thanks. I just thought there might have been some questions, particularly there, Steph. Yep. Okay, next slide. Yep, we've moved on to your last one.
Okay, so just let me stress that this is the implications for local government as assessed by yours truly. I'm, of course, not serving in local government, so I stand to be corrected and welcome any change. But this is my initial analysis of what might seize the interest of members of local government. And that first one there is national consistency. So we're developing that tool that I've mentioned, and we're talking about common criteria. And those are key enablers for the implementation of the bill into the new Act and changes in accountability that come with it. Monitoring and evaluation visits. Our intention is to recommence a biennial cycle, not before next year. Now, that slide was written before the recent announcements on the public sector transformation. So you can be assured that I'll be working hard to make to ensure that plan survives. But of course, like everyone, I'm part of a bigger system, so we don't know what that date might look like once we've gone through our transformation process. Those monitoring and evaluation visits, in time, I hope that they are actually staffed by members of the sector, and that we do not have just a group of people with a clipboard from Wellington turning up. I've worked a lot in the operational space, and I know how useful that is to have someone leave the office in Wellington and appear in your part of the world and start checking things off. I think it's far more useful to have a cross-pollination of skills from across the sector and across the country. So I'm hoping every group will support each other in doing that. And then the final part there is a national capability report. Part of providing assurance to the government and the public is around public reporting around capability. And that means using consistent measures or indicators, but it also means picking out some national themes. Now, the point of that is not that we'll be, we certainly don't want to be allocating a certain score to anyone and comparing scores. The point is that we can talk about areas across the whole sector that need more work or might need to be considered, say, for a future national exercise, considered for funding, whatever it might be, whatever the need is. And as you can see there, we want to do a pilot version. That'll probably be based primarily on the self-assessment results. That's to see how the process works. But then subsequent versions should be based on monitoring and evaluation visits so that we get a bit more of that Tier 3 assurance going on. Probably, I think that's the guts of it. I don't want to take any more time than necessary, so I'd be very happy to enter into any discussion about this or any other emergency management topic, or just take questions.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. Ian, I wonder, did you want to add any comments before we go to questions?
Thank you, Your Worship. Chair. Worship.
Chair.
In respect to the Emergency Management Bill, NIWE has just updated the spreadsheets and question sheets that are on the website. You'll find there's a number there. A number relate to the roles and functions of the group, looking at the controller, the recovery manager, the Emergency Management Committee. In that aspect, also looking at, there was feedback on the changes to the bill as well around emergency management participants, the accountability declaration. If you wish, go to our website and there's a number of fact sheets you can download to actually look at the feedback from the select committee.
Thank you. Questions?
Not at this stage.
Not at this stage? No? Perhaps, I think, Shane, we're going to come to this, or actually maybe through the Chief Executive, but I think the fit alongside our SLAs and assurance function are probably going to dovetail quite neatly into that, and Steph may or may not be aware of that, but we're working, Steph, through our own assurance process through service level agreements with individual councils, so probably it'll be a little bit of work between this joint committee and our manager, CE, back to NEMA to see how that works, but I think probably there's really great alignment with there. Do you want to comment on that, Nick?
Through you, Chair. So Steph kindly came to our last KEG meeting.
Great.
And delivered a similar presentation, and we subsequently had a meeting after that, and really conscious of getting all those levels of assurance and welcome NEMA's getting more involved in assurance.
Yep.
And we talked about the value, as Steph said, of having practitioners who are involved in civil defence from regions across the country, being able to go and visit other regions and essentially test our systems and preparing us as ongoing quality assurance, really. And I think also reflecting the changes that are going on inside NEMA at the moment. The whole system's in a fair state of flux.
Yes.
Chair, if I may.
Yes, please, Maria Wendy.
And it could well be that this is more appropriate in another paper, so do correct me if it is. Over the weekend, I was not just reading these papers, but I was going back through the SLA to make sure that my head was up to speed. I was also looking again at the Joint Committee Transformation Report, and one of the things that struck me that I would love to raise with this committee, whether this is the right time or not, but certainly the self-assessment tools that were mentioned for assurance have spurred it as well, is just reading through them. To me, and it may just be to me, there's a little bit of a lack of clarity in, I think, the role of the HBEMO in terms of emergency management in the system and the individual councils, in terms of who is taking the lead on the development of the regional systems and assuring assurance. Is it meant to be down at that council level, or should it be the HBEMO actually doing that and making sure we're complying across the region? That's the bit that I'm unsure of. And so I wanted to raise it, and the self-assessment tools has just spurred that.
Spurred it, yeah. And I think you're right, there's almost 3 layers of that assurance, and clarity on that is important. Do you want to speak to that now, Shane, or in later paper?
I can address it now if you'd like, through the chair. So the short answer is that the regional assurance program, setting standards, the reporting and the monitoring of that is to be coordinated by the region through the HB Emergency Management Office in consultation, obviously, with the councils and our partners. But in order to provide a system level view at a regional level, it was always envisaged that that would be done regionally. And we've also employed a person specifically for that role who will be starting next Monday, who will start that journey.
Great, so just clarifying, so the HBMO is not just advice and coordination, it's leading that work and then making sure that we've got that assurance that everyone's complying. Can we just take away as an action, Chair, rather than a formal recommendation, just having a look at those, I guess those supporting documents and making sure that we're really explicit about that in there so there is no confusion?
We'll make that.
Thank you.
We'll come back before next meeting and test that we've got that right. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Steph. Thank you for coming in, giving us your time. I think really what you're speaking about when you talk about league tables is working towards standards of excellence rather than ratings, which I think we've seen as effective in different areas as well. I suppose the important piece, and really that's what Mayor Wendy's speaking to, is if we don't have the league table, which is the system we've traditionally used, it's how we're seeing the assurance in a way that's, as you say, not a tick box. There has to be a way that the standard of excellence is maintained. So I think the work we're doing and the work NIWE's doing, as I say, will dovetail well to lead us towards that. So thank you, and we will see you again, I'm sure.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. We are going to receive and note this update information item. Do I have a mover for that, please? Mayor Foley, thank you. And seconded, Mayor McGrath, thank you. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried, thank you. 4.1, sorry, back to 4.1, and we'll pass to Dr. Nick for the KEG update.
Thank you, Chair, and I'll take the paper as read because it largely introduces matters that are covered elsewhere, and so it's probably not that much value to head through those. I thought it would be more useful just to give the committee a verbal update on KEG's area of focus at the moment, because the world is in a whole lot of change, whether it's simplifying local government, an overhaul of the emergency management system through the emergency management bill, our own transformation processes as a region, and it's kind of easy to get distracted by all of those things going on. So KEG's focus is, yes, to know that those things are in place, but is much more focused on the operational system ahead of us and keeping that system operating and functioning and continuing to develop. And in that regard, at the recent KEG meeting, I think for the first time since I've been in Hawke's Bay, we had in-depth reporting from all of the parts of the civil defence system. So a huge thank you to the mayors for your territorial, for your officers' reports that came through there. And we also had extensive reporting from the emergency services. So in an operational sense, a good deal of cohesion. There are still things for us to iron out. But for KEG, understanding that operational readiness and our ability to respond and then highlighting any risks to this table is critically important. And in that regard, pleasing to hear what NIWE are looking to do around assurance, but listening to this table and also to concerns around it from KEG, we have commissioned and got underway now our operating readiness assessment, and Shane can talk to that in more detail, and the interviews as part of that process are now well underway. So I think in summary, Chair, there's a lot of noise at the moment, and it's easy to get distracted by the amount of noise. There's no forgiveness for us if we're not in a position to respond to an event either locally or regionally. So that remains the focus for KEG to ensure that we're in that position.
Yes, agreed. Thank you. Questions for the Chief Executive? I know that a number of these items come up through different papers, so I don't mind where you raise them. We might have different staff answering, but is there particular questions for the KEG group? No?
They come up as we go through.
Yes.
Through each year. Just a small observation from me is going through these reports, there is a lot of repetition, which has created a little bit of confusion as to where to raise what. So if we could just look at that in the future, that would be great.
Yes,
Yep,
certainly.
happy to do that, Chair.
Thank you. Mayor Wendy? Well, no. No further comments? No. Recommendation to receive and note the KEG information item. I'm happy to move that from the Chair. By seconder. Mayor Richard, thank you. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Any against? That's carried. Thank you. Item 4.2 is the Emergency Management Office update, and this I will pass to you, Shane.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just go through a couple of areas, maybe to draw your attention to, as already indicated, the operational readiness assessment, which was commissioned by KEG, is underway. 4 of the 5 assessments and meetings with territorial authorities has already occurred. Just one remaining one to be done on 20th of July. You'll also note that the domains that were listed by Steph from NIMA is also aligned to what we did. So we had the opportunity to align our assessments. So that will help provide a baseline for the future that we can then repeat moving forwards. The intention of that assessment is that each council will get an individual scorecard, and then there will be a regional report that will be provided. That report will go to the leadership subcommittee on July 21. Noting there's just one council still may not have had their report done at that stage, but that's more so that the leadership subcommittee, which represents each of the councils at a senior level, but also an emergency service representative, is to start thinking about where are the collective benefits, where are the gaps that might come out of that assessment. So how can we actually work together collaboratively as a region to find actually where the good stuff's happening, we can leverage, and maybe where we all might want to combine effort to focus on some areas. It will then be reported to KEG on the 24th of August, and then after that to this committee. So you will see the outcomes of that. But work will be happening before the next joint committee meeting on it. The group plan review, just letting you know that the team leader for the planning function or team starts in 2 weeks' time, which means that we can start getting on with writing the new group plan, which under the new legislation will have a slightly different name. So that's great that that can now start proceeding, and I'll talk about how this will converge in a second. Around the capability development space, and as I think the last meeting you asked just to make sure around the role of emergency services and our exercise, can confirm that all of the emergency services and health are engaged in exercise planning, as both in the overall planning and a number of them are also involved in scenario development, as well as all the councils as well, and that's actually tracking really well as a sort of a multi-agency collective program. And the thinking ahead to once this series of exercising is completed throughout this year and early next year, what does the ongoing program look like year on year? I guess the key thing to think about is that we're going to have, and I'll come up later in the group controllers update, is we've got the Cyclone Vaianu after action report, so that's effectively the multi-agency debrief. That's going to land around the same time as the findings from the operational readiness assessment, which will land around the same time as the EM bill will be kind of more solidified as we lead into developing a new CDEM group plan. And that's actually a really good thing because we're going to actually have two independent evidence bases, the operational readiness assessment and the Vaianu after action report, which has been done independently, along with the new legislation that will really inform the way forwards. And when we think about our transformation, that will all feed into the new group plan, which will talk about what does this region want to do for the next 5+ years. So I think what you're now seeing with the new staffing, with the assurance program coming on board, everything else, it'll all now converge, and we'll now start being able to move forward with all of that evidence behind us and reset any new expectations, given that the world has changed significantly since the Cyclone Gabrielle. That's probably the main things I wanted to mention. I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions, thank you. Thank you, Shane. Questions? Thank you, Mayor Wendy.
If there are no others. Just a couple from me. So looking at the update around the lease for the Linden Road facility, thank you for updating us on that. I'm really conscious, as I said earlier, that I've reread the SLA and it states that there's a need for suitable emergency operation centres, and I'm keen to understand what the long-term plan is. I do understand we're in a state of change with reforms mentioned earlier and whatnot, but I am also conscious we can't lose momentum as well. So not expecting a response today, but I would like a report back on a plan so that we know what's next.
Through you, Chair, I can answer. So I'm working directly with your GM, Bruce Allen, on that matter. We were absolutely looking for a new building for the group office. Unfortunately, there are very few available, particularly rated at IL4, which is required for the group building. We would need to build a new building, and estimates around $15 million. It's probably a starting figure. The region absolutely needs to think about that. Broadly, there's some requirements not only for the group office, but also Napier's looking at some need for their space, as well as when I spoke with Bruce, there's some conversations that we were having about what would that look like from a regional perspective, actually, in terms of a regional need. And then when you think about local government reform coming at us at a rate of knots, it was decided that we would pause, sort the lease on the current building, and then regroup and have those conversations about a regional need, rather than just one office at this point in time.
So through you, Chair. Thank you for that update. I do appreciate that. I think the thing I'm conscious on is you've got a 2-year renewal, and we need a plan being formed up in that 2 years. What I don't like is seeing a report come to us going, we've got that 2-year lease, but there's no action in here from there. You've informed us of some stuff going on, but I think actually that needs to be drawn up in a report and brought back to this table to have a look at. So I respect that there's a conversation that's been had, but I'd like more information at this table.
Sorry, through you, Chair, that's what I meant, that I'm having those conversations with all of the GMs
So
around
when
the
can we
region.
expect
Once
that?
I've had that conversation, I can bring some information back.
So can we have an action point for our next agenda that we'd like to see a paper on the planning for that, please? Do you want to
Thank
add
you.
anything to that, Chief Executive?
No,
We'll see a bit of a plan within that. Yeah.
Clearly heavily influenced by simplifying local government at the moment.
I think the paper could give us some steer as to if local government reform is heading this way or if the regional, et cetera. So we're seeing a little bit of a process plan for next steps in that. I understand your concern, particularly around this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the second question I had, if I may.
Please.
So just looking at point 11, the thing I'm really keen to understand, and again, this could be something that comes back to us in the future, it doesn't have to be answered today, is it highlights all the different activities that we need to look at, and we've looked at for that, that operational readiness assessment. I think what I'm interested in understanding is getting real clarity over, again, what councils are delivering at their level versus what groups delivering, because we're both rating ratepayers for activities, and I just want to make sure there's no accidental duplication or crossover in that, and that's just an assurance of that side of things. So I'd be really interested in some information being brought to us at some point, just really bedding in, this is what should be being done at a council level and this is what's happening through that research you've just done with councils versus what groups facilitating and overseeing and funding.
Yes. Yeah. Shane, do you want to make a comment on that?
Yeah, just briefly, because this is something that will come up through the transformation update, but happy to talk about it now, is that as we go through looking at our current transformation and implementation program, part of that is around the rating. So it was always discussed probably a year or more ago, that there would be a discussion around how we currently rate for emergency management. And part of that's also reviewing of the service level agreement, because part of that's, as you said, to making sure that what we rate for is not being duplicated elsewhere and vice versa. So that is all part of the implementation plan for the transformation strategy, as well as, because that will do the costings and the LTP requirements in that.
So Chair, can I talk to that now or should I wait till?
No, I think let's keep going with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, just really interested to understand when the implementation plan will come back to this table to be seen as well. There's great stuff in here. Please don't misinterpret this as me being dissatisfied. But what I am having to bed in as a governor is I need to see progress and I need to see when we're going to have things brought to us. So, and that's the bit that I feel is missing from the papers at the moment, is that definitive, this is when you will hear from us on these things.
Sure, just briefly, and I can do it now. Hayley, who's just joined us 2 weeks ago, as the transformation manager. So she will be doing some work in that space with all the councils to understand both what our needs are, but also what the individual councils and emergency services and our other partners have. Also just reflecting the change of where we're at now versus where we were before and everything that's going on, and to bring that paper. So, the transformation paper will have hopefully more detail at the next Joint Committee meeting.
Okay, so it's the next meeting.
Yeah, as we continue to develop it, and as Hayley works on the roadmap, just noting, as I said, that she's 2 weeks into the role.
Can I just be really clear on that? So actually we'll meet Hayley at the end of the meeting. That would be lovely. So the transformation strategy, Shane, are you suggesting that you are going to look through that process at more clarity and definition around the training and lanes of separation between group and TA work in a way that's assessing what training's going on at council level and at group level and getting clarity on the roles there. I didn't understand that through the strategy, particularly this, I think it's a very particular question that Mayor Wendy's asking.
Yeah, so it's broader than obviously training, but yes, in concept, it's about we need to revise the service level agreement, which is where some of this detail is maintained. We need to think about the transformation strategy, the implementation plan, what is the current expectations, who's doing what, when and how it's going to be funded. That is all part of why we've employed a transformation manager to deliver that work.
Thank you. Are you clear that we are getting what you're asking for at the next meeting?
I think, through you, Chair, if I may make a suggestion, I think what would be really helpful actually, particularly when there's pieces of work to come in the future, if we could even include at the back of these papers a bit of a calendar of when we expect pieces of work to come before this committee, because and in terms of your specific question, then I'm not sure until I see the paper. So, and I guess that's the thing. I'm keen to understand when we'll get some of this information, which allows us to take the next steps. I endorse having a look at the service level agreement again, making sure it's still fit for purpose in this evolving space, and also very keen to see the implementation plan, because I think that's a really key next step, but understood that we had to get the appropriate people in place too. So.
And I think, Shane, that we have Hayley here, and that conversation's probably live. We can talk between this meeting and the next one around clarity of those roles. I think what's really just been expressed is we want to make sure that we're not rating twice, doing the work twice, crossing each other over and missing perhaps a piece in the middle as well, which will be the double down. Okay, thank you. More questions, Mayor Wendy?
No, that's me on this paper.
Okay. Any questions from any other mayors? No? Not the same? No? Any comment from you on any of that? I did have a question myself. You noted in your update, Shane, around the operational readiness assessments, and that between now and the next meeting when you'll report on it, you said there will be work happening between those. Are you suggesting that as those assessments come back to you, if there's some weaknesses or missing points, you'll be starting to work on those between now and then what we'll see at the next meeting is the assessments at a high level, including any of the work that's happening to fill those gaps? Is that how you're thinking it'll work?
Yes, and driven highly by the Emergency Management Leadership Subcommittee, which was subcommittee of KEG, because they will have the right representation on there to drive it at a strategic level to start that process moving forward. So we're not going to wait.
Straight away. You're not going to wait. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, we have a recommendation to receive the Group Controller update. Happy to move. Thank you, Mayor Wendy, Mayor Richards, second. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Any against? That's carried. Thank you. Now we have 4.4, which is the Transformation Programme update, which is, Shane, is that you again?
Yes, through to the Chair, I think we've missed one.
Oh, I've missed the Group Controller. Sorry, I just moved that one.
Yeah.
I was meant to move, sorry everyone, I'm moving 4.2. That's right, we've moved that one. Now we're on to 4.3, Group Controller update.
Yes, so the Chair, so this one, we've already covered some of this conversation. I guess the key one really was just around Cyclone Vaianu. Whilst that was a little while ago, this is the first meeting we've had since that event. It was a good response overall, especially considering we didn't have the impacts, but nonetheless it was still of a reasonable scale. And in fact, if we reflect on the scale of the response, and if you took Cyclone Gabrielle out of the picture, this would have actually been considered quite a reasonable size event for this region. And actually, just because we have other bigger events, we sometimes maybe lose sight of actually some of these other events, which are actually still quite meaningful. So a really good response. There was a lot more coordination across agencies, including with PSGs and NIWE. So there's a shift there, deliberate shift to include more early and to have more representation in those multi-agency meetings and through the planning process. Certainly all the feedback we've had to date definitely demonstrated improvements since Gabrielle, and it definitely built confidence across the region with the partners as well as with the actual response staff themselves across all the councils, but noting we've still got more work to do. So the after action review, the independent review, which is there's been a survey done by partners and councils. It's a workshop on Thursday, and from that they'll start thinking about what are the priority areas. And again, that will dovetail into the operational readiness assessment. So we've actually got a real life event to tell us how we performed, and then we've got the independent readiness assessment, looking at some broader stuff. So all of that will come together very shortly, but overall that, whilst there's still areas to work on, it definitely showed that there had been some improvements. In the controllers forum space that we meet every 2 months, I just want to draw your attention. So in point 30.1 on page 22, there has been an ongoing conversation amongst the controllers just around the challenges of them being employees within a council, and this is an additional role over and above what they do. It also came out during the Corona inquest conversations. So there is an intention at some point for some thought to be done around what does this look like from a region, how do we make it sustainable, how do we invest in the controllers, noting all the other pressures we've got on finances. But you might expect a paper back to this group on behalf of all the controllers at one of the future meetings. But it is definitely an ongoing conversation, not just within this region, but across the whole system. And that's going to potentially increase the expectation with NIWE's new assurance and standards and rules. It's actually going to have a higher expectation on your council staff. And in relation to the group controllers update, only other amendment I would make is on 31.1. The terms of reference were actually confirmed. It was just a minor error on my part. I should have said they were confirmed. Otherwise, happy to take questions.
Neil Will.
Thank you, Chair. Just agree with all the commentary on Vaianu. It just felt different and ran very well. And we didn't get the impacts, which is probably the best part of it. Can you talk to the next event, which felt so different in terms of the pre-response, and then the actual impacts on a localised level were pretty severe. People talked about those impacted Western Gabrielle, but it just felt so different in terms of a civil defence response. Can you talk to sort of why that was, and then any review and learnings from that particular event?
I think, if I through the chair, the main difference was that other one was an unexpected event. So Vaianu was something that we had weather forecasts we knew about in advance. That other event wasn't expected, and nor were those impacts. And it was largely a local level response rather than a regional level response. So when it only impacts a single district, it's normally determined that that district will lead that response with our support as required. Whereas with Vaianu was seen to be the impacts were likely to be a regional impact, or at least multiple districts, and therefore we take a larger role in coordination. So that's probably why you saw the difference. We had less involvement at a regional level in this event after Vaianu, purely because it was done at a local level.
Further comments on that? Did you raise a good point?
So basically, saying the forecast was one of the key differences, because I remember the beginning of it was a thunderstorm. I know they're always hard to forecast or predict where and how much.
Correct.
So that was a big part of the front end of it.
100%.
Do you think, Mia Will, when we have a region-wide forecast like that, where the group definitely takes the lead in that sort of pre-planning, and then we have these the separate situation where a district takes control of its own event separate from the group, whether or not there's a piece for the group to help in perhaps some of that pre-work. Now, I know the event that Will's talking about was quite unexpected, but it does seem there's a little bit of a place where group could be supporting the individual district in a pre-event as well, because I agree, Vaianu was so well communicated, such good information out there. Yeah, it's not, it's really a vague comment, I know, but I'm taking the point that a district takes charge of that event, but it's quite hard to communicate as well, or in such a way as the group did for such a big event.
Yeah, through you, Chair, I think whenever there's a local event, then the group will offer its support. The challenge in the more localised one is that it was thunderstorms are not predictable. So where they happen, unfortunately. So it's not something that we're up and ready and preparing for. But if there's a local event, absolutely the group office or the emergency management office will offer local support.
Now, Wendy,
I just noted 15 on page 21, iwi mana whenua engagement was acknowledged externally as more prepared and responsive than previous events. Certainly agree with that. One of the things that I'm really conscious of though through events like the ones we've just had is clarity around funding arrangements when it comes to our mana whenua partners, specifically who covers their costs incurred by marae versus when they self-initiate and when they're asked to. And I just wonder what work we're doing in that area, because I do think greater clarity means greater outcomes across the region.
Through the chair, and I might actually pass this on to Ian Wilson because that's his area of responsibility within NIWE, but we have run some workshops in the past to clarify that. We've been talking about we might need to rerun them again because it's ultimately a government policy that determines what those things are, but I might hand over to Ian.
Yes, we'd be very happy to actually run some workshops, and has been actually suggested to the group that we do that, and I've spoken to a number of iwi leaders as well, and they are very supportive of actually having another workshop to understand where the costs sit, how they can actually claim them as well.
Should be an action point.
Yeah, that would be great to take away as an action point, just because I specifically note as well the report talks about those relationships being really important.
Yeah.
Any clarity we can provide, and I think not just workshops but also documentation that exists, anything we can do to make the process easier, and again, as you say, that we need to be really clear with our partners what it means when they're asked to stand up versus self-initiated and what happens.
Yeah, yes. This one got a little bit muddled, I think, in respect of the push from a national level. The relationships sit at a local level. They're really important for you to have those relationships, and the understanding with the iwi. It's also important that they understand that if they activate of their own accord, they sit their expenses themselves. They've got to actually work with the group hand in hand, and the group or the TA actually activates them as well and asks them to respond for them. And then we can explain on top of that where those costs sit and what we will actually reimburse.
And I know we've had this conversation personally, but I will say again in this forum that I think at a national level there definitely needs to be more work in that area. Marae are essential in emergencies, and whatever we can do to do that would be great.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Other questions? Comments? Recommendation to receive the group controller's update. Happy to move, Mayor Richard?
Happy to move that.
Thank you. Mayor Craig, there you are. Hi, thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against, that's carried. Thank you. Now it's the transformation programme update 4.4, and this is Shane again.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of things. One, where it mentions that the dashboard attached to this paper was of 30th of May, it should have actually been 30th of April. So again, a typo on my part. It's best printed at A3, but we've made a little bit of a change in Mayor Wendy. It kind of doesn't answer what you asked for, but it's slightly in the step of the right direction, I think, which is it shows at least now that the timeline for the activities, but doesn't talk about when we're going to report to the committee, so we'll take that on board.
Great.
The hope is that hopefully in some ways providing less verbose reporting but more of a visual that gives you a better understanding of the amount of activities that are ongoing and when you're likely to see that activity occurring. I also just do want to point out this is the timeline for the transformation. The group office itself, just like your councils, has a whole bunch of other work that's going on that's not included in this space as well. So this is just what came out of the transformation strategy, not all the other work that goes on. The couple of orange areas are just reflecting we've had a staff change, so the person who was doing public information education has resigned. We're now looking to recruit that position. It's currently in the market. I've got someone else that's acting in that role currently, but that obviously then has had an impact as they juggle stuff. So it's just a slowdown, nothing of real concern, but stuff that we still want to proceed. As already mentioned, Hayley White has joined us 2 weeks ago, so we're pleased to have her on board, who will really own the transformation program and lead it, and probably will do the reporting, so you won't have to listen to me all the time. You have various voices. As you probably know, Mike Cannon is also joining us on Monday. He joins as the principal advisor for assurance. So that will then start driving what that assurance program looks like, standards, etc., which I know is important. And also the planning person starts in 2 weeks' time, so we can start in the planning space.
Okay.
And then also further to the comments around the partnership with Māori, we've completed the interviews and just finalising that recruitment process. So hopefully we'll have someone on board who we can then again work in partnership with mana whenua to build the mahi from here out. Just within, quickly maybe jumping to risk 5 is just the burnout eroding future response capabilities as a system in the national capability. So that's on 29.32. Is that just like us, every region is grappling with various changes, with resource management, with the emergency management bill, simplifying local governments, rate caps, and also an increased number of responses and a kind of a expectation to go hard, go early. But that also, the same token, has stretches the system a little bit. And also, as some of the council's water entities are formed, it means that within some other regions in New Zealand, the staff that the council would have had once upon a time are now tied up in the water entities. So what that tells us, though, is that our need to ensure that we've got trained people is more important now than ever. That whilst we will be people within the greater national system who can respond, it probably isn't at the levels we would have seen, for instance, when Gabrielle happened. There is less people in the system, and people are more stressed and burnt out at the moment. So we need to continue to build our capability and to ensure that we can spread that capability across our region. They're probably the key things in there, but happy to take it as read, and I'm sure there'll be some questions.
Thank you. Mayor Craig?
Yep.
Do you want to make any comments on any part of papers also to come? Because I know you need to get back to Wairoa.
Is this the last, what's after this one?
No, there's two more papers after this. There's the emergency management bill.
Do I need to be here though for them to go through? I think I do, don't I?
No.
Okay, we'll finish this one off and then.
Okay, that's right. Have you got any comments on any of that or on the bill?
Yeah, just on the stressed out and burnt out, but there, Shane, I can understand that, but most jobs are like that today, to be quite honest. Even try being in the local government world at the moment. Government's just piled a whole lot more stuff on top of us as well. Yeah. I understand.
Challenging time. More questions for Shane? On transformation strategy? Melville?
Yeah. Point 7 there talks about the long-term plan decisions will be needed to fund, and then it's also mentioned in the KEG report too. I've just lost the page now, but are you referring to it as a potential risk that councils may not fund? Is that the reason for that? Those points repeated, or just stating it is what it is?
Yes, through the chair. No, it's not saying that necessarily there's a risk. It was more just to highlight that there is uncertainty about what that cost is going to be, and therefore as you go into a long-term plan, we need to make sure that we nail some of that so that it can inform that conversation.
Okay, that's a lot clearer, yeah, thanks.
Mayor Wendy?
Just on that theme, if I may, and picking up that it has crossed over other papers, I guess the thing I'm really interested to understand is what is the plan, I guess, to agree the funding model and who's driving that work? Because we need real clarity on that. I see that there's bids to the long-term plans and whatnot, but actually there's a baseline funding requirement to meet the transformational strategy requirements and whatnot. So what is the plan? Who's doing it?
Through you, Chair.
Thank you.
The first paper will need to go to KEG, and they will need to think about that in terms of preparing for LTPs. So that will come through from KEG.
Will it come through to this committee or just the councils?
It'll come through from KEG to this committee.
To this committee, okay.
But first to KEG.
And so when is that the next meeting we're likely to see that? Again, that's the thing I'm looking for, guys, is timeframes.
Yeah, I'll have to come back to you. Sorry, Mayor. I think I'll just need to work with each of the other councils in terms of their long-term planning time frames that they've got as well.
Yeah.
Because we'll need to be quite coordinated on that.
So through you, Chair, that's exactly why I'm asking, because I'm really conscious of that. And so I wonder actually, because there's a number of things we're taking out of today where we're asking when will this come back. I'm wondering even an email out after this meeting, once everyone's had a chance to consider, just to confirm when different items are going to come back to this committee, just so we've got clarity. And also I'm conscious of the time that sits between each committee meeting. So if we need to have a special meeting at some point to bring something to this, I would really endorse that. This is really mahi from my perspective.
Agreed.
Another question, if I may, just on this particular paper. So in the executive summary, I see the overall program status is amber. What are the deliverables required to get us out of amber? And what's the plan?
Through the chair, there's probably two things, because one, if you look at the kind of timeline, you see it's mostly green, but yet I've still said amber, and that's mainly because the reality is, whilst a lot of things in the transformation strategy is improving or being delivered, it's still not necessarily to the point where we can say that we have confidence or that we're certain or that at the level we want them to be. This is part of the role for the transformation managers to go through and actually work with all the councils about, well, what is it actually we're delivering, when are we delivering it by, and bring that back. So I can't necessarily give you that answer now. That's the whole point of that person, is so that they've got someone to own this and to drive it forward and to come back with some real clarity around what this looks like moving forward and how we're going to implement the transformation strategy in the new world.
So in part you've answered my question, thank you, which is basically that work is being put together at the moment. And again, and it can come through in an update when it will come to us is what I'm keen to understand.
And did you just say, Shane, that the transformation manager will visit each of the individual councils as well? So that will happen now, and so by our next meeting we would be expecting to see some of those deliverables come through. Okay.
Yes, and if I may, Chair, that's also not just councils, but of course with some of our key partner agencies and sectors.
As well. Another question?
No, that's me. No, thank you.
I had a question, and it was a feedback from my council. So we now have in one of our committees, emergency management is a part of our reporting line. They were asking within this transformation strategy or within our reporting if we have any work streams where we are checking with community post-events how the information, particularly communication's been received, if it's been received, and if it's been able to be accessed. What they're looking to understand is what we're delivering, is we can track that we're delivering it, is it being received in the right places, and how we're tracking that. So it's really just a bit of feedback. I don't need an answer for that now, but it would be good to see that incorporated somewhere. I think it's within the regional comms strategy, probably.
If I may, Chair,
Yeah,
leave it
please.
with us. That's part of the role of our assurance person, Mike, who starts on Monday, is to actually start thinking about what do we want to measure, how we measure it, how we're reporting, not just to ourselves, but to communities, to our partners. And so that is all part of that process.
Okay,
So-
the feedback from, I think it came up particularly in response to if the information couldn't be received, so we did a great job of putting it out, how did we know it had got to the right place? The other piece of feedback from my council was that during the event, Vaiano, going to different councils' websites and to CDEM, that there was trouble sort of integrating which place they should be on to find the information they needed, and across the socials as well. And we wondered if that could be part of some feedback on how we're bringing together, perhaps in an event, if you open up any of the council pages, you end up with the ability to land in one place to get all the information. It was quite tricky. If you opened up Hastings District Council and it was like, where's the flooding, you couldn't quite find it. So that was really just a bit of feedback from councillors on how they were finding access into that information.
Thank you, Chair. Two things. One, we do want to revise the whole website. That is a program of work to do at some point in time to make it more current and useful and accessible. The other thing is what should appear on every council website during the response is a banner that talks about the event that actually connects back to the regional site. So that should have appeared but also part of the things that now that it's sort of local delivery as well is allowing how do we ensure that we've got regional consistency of our messaging, but actually local messaging. And so what I can assure you though is that the public information managers during that response were connecting frequently and sharing and amplifying each other's messages. So whilst there are some differences in the wording or what might be said, that probably reflects those individual communities' needs.
Okay, thank you.
Chair, just one last thing, if I can just a comment. I actually want to thank the team for the response in Vaianu. I thought it was a huge step up, and I think we've all taken away learnings. So I want to acknowledge that. But B, also in the risk assessment within this particular paper, thank you for highlighting that sector burnout as a risk and what you're doing about it, because it is a very real thing. As Mayor Craig has highlighted, it is across the sector, but it doesn't minimise the impact, and it is a very real risk. So thank you.
Agreed. That we are going to receive the transformation program update. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Mayor Craig. Seconded, Mayor Wendy. Thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? That's carried. Thank you. 4.5, the emergency management bill. Yes, we're going to say thank you, Mayor Craig. Safe travels back to Wairoa to your community meeting.
Yep. Okay, how it goes.
Yeah. Let us know how it goes. Yes, please. Are you, Nick, is this you?
No, through you, Chair. I will ask Shane, I think, again, or
It is Shane,
possibly
okay.
Katrina. I guess I would just introduce it by saying is
Yes, please.
it's quite a significant overhaul of emergency management legislation. So it's more than just a tweak that we have to adapt to. And I think in the long run will be welcome. Implementation is a little bit complex in the current environment. So again, I think it's a case of deal with what we know and carry on being ready to respond really to events. But the shape of how we deal with this is going to be influenced by the simplifying local government discussion to come.
But I also note, Chief Executive, your opening comments that the KEG is focused very specifically on delivery readiness for events, which
Yes.
is, of course, all of our primary concerns. So I think that's important, but I do think Mayor Wendy's brought up some good suggestions on aligning some of the timing for those outcomes that are happening, as you say, really more in an administrative sense, but for us to have a line of sight on those is good too. But
no, that's useful.
I think we all absolutely agree that the focus of KEG should be exactly as you say. Thank you. Shane, do you want to take us through this?
Thank you, Chair. First, I just want to preface this by saying this is not legal advice. This is my kind of understanding and assessment of it. We will provide potentially more advice once this turns into law. This is really just though to give you a heads up the direction of travel, given that this could be get to sort of being through the House before September. By the end of September, so before your next meeting, this may have actually already be in place, although with probably a 6-month window for implementation. So just really quickly, some areas I thought might be worth pointing out. One is just around this governance body, notwithstanding its name changes. One thing that the Select Committee recommended, and I will say that the Select Committee agreed unanimously to the report that went back to government. And so when it's a cross-party like that, as you're probably aware, that generally gives it a pretty good stead to get through the rest of the process. Whilst there might be some tweaks, I think we can take this as probably reasonably solid as far as what the expectations will be. Around the Emergency Management Committee, which is the new name for the Joint Committee, there is the opportunity to appoint and enumerate associate members for the skills or knowledge they bring. So while the previous Joint Committee for Hawke's Bay were very strong on their submission that sort of Mana Whenua should have a voice, the government didn't, or the bill didn't have that in there, but this gives us a vehicle for that, in the sense that they can now be voting members of the Emergency Management Committee, will not carry the same liabilities, and the only thing is they can't vote on is states of emergency, but it now gives them a meaningful voice, which I think is a positive solution. But it also says that at the KEG level, Mana Whenua must be a member and also a rural member. So we already have St John in ours as another requirement. So there'll be 2 new members at KEG to represent the rural sector and the Mana Whenua voice. So those are good directions and support what this joint committee has previously stated. There's one thing to note, which is local controllers are currently appointed by this joint committee. And the new EM bill, it is proposed that local controllers will get renamed to district controllers, and they'll be appointed by the council's chief executives, not by this committee. Now, why that becomes an interesting challenge is that currently you appoint your local controllers for the entire region, so they can move anywhere and act anywhere and have all the delegations required. In the new legislation, that won't work anymore, so we'll probably have to work through a process of how we might do a multi-member appointment or something so that they can be moved across. That's something that we will need to think about, and it's, I guess, an unintended outcome of the change.
Through you, Chair, sorry to interrupt, but just very much on that point. So sorry, that last bit, just to clarify for me, you're trying to find a way of still allowing that movement across the region? Great, because that was a big, I guess, concern I had reading the paper.
Yes.
Thank you, that's great.
Yeah, so I think what our attention will be probably the most pragmatic way, other than an MOU agreement, is when all the councils agree to appoint that person for all of their councils concurrently, and we can just do that potentially as some formal way once we know what that process looks like. And then you'll also may note that chief executives of TAs get increased responsibilities and business as usual role around coordinating personnel, materials and information and resources when there's not a state of emergency or transition in force. And so some of the role that maybe this joint committee has had is actually going to be pushed down to the chief executives. And my understanding there was quite a deliberate shift to shift that accountability to the person who has the ability to make stuff happen, who have the staffing. And then the last couple of things around the emergency management plan. So our joint committee, our CDEM group plan, as I've already mentioned, is due for upgrade.
Yep.
There will be some new requirements, and we are likely to use the new requirements, even if we're not legally required to. We'll probably still adopt them willingly, because obviously it sets us up for the future. And those things are around, we must think about how we meet the needs of disproportionately affected communities, managing animals, and also managing offers of assistance, as well as we need to engage both with Māori, which we're going to anyway, and those representatives of the disproportionately affected communities. So there's a much stronger consultation process in the new plan that we need to do. And then lastly, when the plan is written, there's a requirement now, or it's a suggested requirement, that the councils will need to link the long-term plans to the regional plan. So basically saying, hey, you've said it at the committee, here's our regional plan for the next 5 years. Then also at a council level, you need to start articulating how you might fund that. Currently, there's no requirement to link the two together. So that's probably a positive thing. Otherwise, I think happy to take questions.
Thank you. Wendy?
Just seeking clarity, and you may not have it yet, on the representation change, making sure that we've got that iwi Māori member and really importantly that rural member as well. Is it just one of each, or do we have discretion? Because I'm just conscious, for example, our rural community is huge. Equally, iwi mana whenua is, so just trying to get a bit of an understanding.
I think at KEG, under the current arrangements, and I don't believe it's changed in the new bill, the KEG can co-opt probably as many as they wanted. There will obviously be a balancing act to do in that process, but yes, in the relation to the new emergency management committee, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but I suspect that you can, but maybe I'll need to look into that to get accurate
Just be
advice.
interested to understand that, thank you. And I guess my favourite question of the day seems to be, I understand that this is going to take some time to come into effect, but it would be really good to understand if we've got a plan for how to, meet the new requirements under the new bill. And again, who will implement, who's taking the lead on that?
Through the chair, yes, as the bill gets passed through the House and we have some certainty of what the final legislation looks like, yes, we will need to go through that process of figuring out. There is an idea on page 41, there's a bit of a timeline more so of when things are going to be required by government, and obviously we'll need to work to that to ensure that we are ready to implement those timelines. So there are things that have to day after we're sent within 6 months and within 12 months.
Okay. And again, through you, Chair, if our next meeting needs to be brought forward in response to whenever this is firmed up, in order to make sure we've got momentum, very happy to do that.
Thank you. Are you expecting that we will have, there'll be work obviously at group level, but will individual TAs also have processes they'll need to?
Yes.
And you're working closely in that, and the Chief Executive Group will be dealing with that part? Mm-hmm. I'm thinking the rural representation, of course, we have the RAG group in Hawke's Bay. That's probably something you're already connected with at Chief Executive level as well.
Yeah.
Other questions? I did have a question. Oh no, that was answered in the regionalisation of those. Yeah. John, did you have any comments on the bill or our role?
No, if anything, it kind of changes the theme, but strengthens the role, and particularly that one about CEs of TLAs taking responsibility for pointing their controllers. They know who they are and what their capabilities are, and also being able to marshal most of the response infrastructure, if you like, in a response, rather than someone remote trying to do it. Mm-hmm. I think it'll work well. I mean, it's quite a workload to implement, but we've got basically 12 months and a day, I think, to do it.
Have you got particular advice for the committee around some issues you think we should be thinking of at a governance level around that?
Well, this is a long-term planning and a hardy annual for me, and I think Mayor Will kind of illustrated it when we were talking about Vaianu before. If you've got a strategy with a little s in this case about community being the initial response mechanism, and I think that's what Will was suggesting, that it worked well during Vaianu. This won't make any difference. That says it can be still implemented that way. In fact, it's found to be the most effective way to implement the initial response. But as Mayor Sholem pointed out, there are gaps where things can get misinformation, mistranslated in use of social media, and why have they got an alert and I haven't, sort of thing, is one of those. But they can be overcome by education in the community setting, not by a broadcast from this level or from Shane's office or even one of the TLA offices. It's a consistent messaging going to communities through community engagement, saying, if you're in the Hastings district, you listen to the Hastings messages. There's no point in you understanding what's happening in Central Hawke's Bay or Wairau. I mean, that's just... But people need this sort of reinforcement, otherwise they will go and fishing somewhere to find different information, and that upsets the whole response mechanism. But I just emphasise that community-based response is the major way of going.
Thank you. Ian, did you want to make any comments on the bill?
No, I think it's actually been covered quite nicely.
Yeah.
Just broadly through you, Chair, I think it supports the direction of travel that the region's having in terms of empowering local response, empowering the councils who are the lead in that sense locally, and then having regional coordination where we spread across more than one area. So I guess I'm pleased that it's headed in that direction broadly. Yeah. I think the other thing I just bring to your attention is that, and we've felt the weight of that in a post-Gabrielle environment was around liability and some better protections in the bill for the people who have to make decisions pre a declaration, and that's been an important thing for those people to know that gap is being filled.
Agreed, and we submitted quite strongly on that.
Yep.
From this committee as well. Thank you, everyone. So we do have a few recommendations on this paper to receive and note the bill and note the governance matters that will require future decisions by the committee, including representation and associate member appointments, the regional emergency management plan linked to the long-term plans and implications for any local government reform, and that an agenda item will follow once the bill is enacted and the reform direction is known. And we just noted that if you feel we need to meet before then, that we're happy to call in an emergency or an extraordinary online if needed, or in person. Do we have someone happy to move that? Thank you, Mayor Richard. I'm happy to second it from the chair. There we are. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Any against? That's carried. Thank you. Before we go into public excluded, I just wonder if we might invite Hayley up to join us, and maybe you'll introduce her, Shane, and we could hear a little bit more about your role, and yeah, you can introduce yourself. Come join us.
Through the chair. So welcome to Hayley. As I said, started only, this is the start of the third week, so early days. Hayley can probably talk about herself. I don't think she needs me to talk about her, but we're pleased to have her on board. But maybe I'll just hand over to Hayley.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Hi, welcome, Hayley.
Thank you very much. Great to meet you all. So as Shane said, that I've started 2 weeks ago, so just taking time to get my feet under the desk, and I will be coming around to meet each of the councils. We did go to Wairoa on Friday to meet with the team there, so be taking obviously a bit of time to do sort of a current state analysis and looking at where we are with the transformation strategy as we stand, and then with a view to doing a roadmap for the team and bringing it back to you for the next meeting. So it's lovely to meet you all.
Thank you. And you will be based in the office?
In Hastings.
In Hastings. Here we are. Right next door to you, Neil Wendy. Yeah, great to meet you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Before we do this next resolution, I noticed in our public excluded item that Ross McLeod will be stepping back from his role as Group Recovery Manager, and I just thought it might be a nice opportunity to say thank you to Ross for all his work across multiple levels. Actually, I know he's not with us. Oh, he is here.
He's hiding.
There you
You can invite him up, Chair.
Yes, come on up, Ross. Come on up. Look, we want to say a huge thank you. You've worn lots of hats, and you're still wearing lots of hats actually at the moment. But it has been a lot of responsibility actually for you, and we're really grateful to you for everything you've done. And we'd be happy to hear a few words from you before we go into public excluded, and you are removed. Yes, just like that.
Thank you, Chair. I wasn't expecting to do this afternoon, but yeah, thank you. I guess the recovery role after Cyclone Gabriel is the sort of role you never wish you had to have, but we did have to have it, and it's a role where even if it was behind the scenes, we got to help the region and help a lot of people, and I say that working alongside the councils, particularly government agencies, the PSGEs, and a whole lot of businesses and people in the community. We were very much in the back room, but helping to organise, coordinate, plan, and get funding for the needs that were required. So, I can look back on that time and say, well, I'm pleased I was there to help with that. And I really want to thank and acknowledge the work that went on in those communities, by those communities, and by particularly the councils around this table, but also the PSG, Māori partners and government agencies and others. But the councils were at the forefront of a lot of that engagement and work. The CDEM team to start with, and then the councils picking up that recovery work, working with communities, working to get infrastructure restored, community supported, land cleared, stock banks built, all the things that are fundamental to the ongoing resilience and safety of our communities. So, I'm really pleased to have played a small part in that in the background, and really want to thank and acknowledge the people that I've had the opportunity to work with through that, and also my team at the RRA. In some ways, I was just the front man, and a lot of other people were actually doing the mahi on that. And so all the leadership from this table, from the councils, mayors, chairs, and others involved, thank you. I really acknowledge their contribution.
Thank you so much, and you were doing a lot of the heavy lifting. You weren't just the front person, and it was a huge responsibility. So thank you to you. Would you like my point? Thank you, Wendy.
Just on behalf of Heratanga, Hastings, thank you, Ross. Thank you to you and your team. Thank you for acknowledging them. But also, I'd like to take a minute to acknowledge previous Mayor Sandra as well, her leadership through that period too. I think that's really important. May have been on council at the time, but yeah, thank you for your acknowledgement.
Any other comments?
Just a thanks from mana whenua from PSGs to you, Ross, and to your team. Thank you very much.
Oh, just, no, thanks, Ross, for Central Bay, and thanks for the reason that you're having to resign.
A good appointment, Will.
Chief Executive, yeah.
And through you, Chair, just on behalf of the operational side of councils, Ross, hugely indebted to you for your leadership and your team and your particular skills in extracting some pūtea out of our colleagues in central government to help the regional recovery process. But also, I think the coordinated way in which the region came together, responded, reported and lobbied for Hawke's Bay's recovery was critically important, and a lesson learned that when you have that scale of event, you need something big and strong and independent of each of us, like a regional recovery agency, to assume that position. So huge thank you from the operational end of the business.
Yeah, thank you, Ross.
Well, I did not let you move on. Napier better joined in. So.
On Napier, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, look, job well done. Our community probably don't even know you existed in the role, which to some degree is a really good thing, because in our role, when it goes badly, you end up on the front page. So well done, and best of luck with CHB. Obviously, the job, the interview was very long, over a number of years, so well done.
Thanks, Ross.
Thank you very much.
We have got a resolution to accept our late item.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yes, we need to do that before public excluded. Has everybody got a copy of that with them? Do I need to read it? Late item? Okay, is someone happy to move?
Oh, well, it's on the run sheet on page 2.
Good luck.
Just a shuffle of controllers, because it might have left.
It's on the run sheet there.
Isn't that in the PA? Shouldn't get something else.
No, it's the
That is
PS one.
the big one.
Separate one.
Yes, you happy with that?
Yeah. Yep.
Happy to move that, Wendy? Mayor
Yeah,
Wendy?
very
Yes,
happy to.
happy to
Yeah.
second it, Mayor Will. Thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? That's carried. Thank you. Now we need a resolution, please, to move to public excluded. Does anybody need an explanation as to why we're moving into public excluded? No, I'm happy to move that from the chair. Someone happy to second? Thank you. Mayor Wendy, all those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? That's carried. Thank you. We'll just give us a couple of moments to go.